You're going to make a connect today between a game show and a societal issue. And we're going to bring that together in what we are calling Don't Crack, KREK It. And the CEO of Base-Yetu is Nick Mararo. He is in the hot seat this morning. Nick, good morning.
Thank you very much, Asante sana.
Asante sana, karibu for joining us. We're going to get into this conversation and we'll build towards that in just a bit. But as you may or may not know, every week, CT, who's normally here, goes around the African continent. And we land in a country and we pick up a basket full of proverbs that we share every day. Mark is going to share that proverb with you. He'll tell you where it's from. And then we would like to hear an interpretation of that. Yeah?
What's the most famous African pattern on fabric?
The Ankara.
Interesting. What's the Ghanaian one?
The Ghanaian cloth is called Kente.
Kente. Exactly. Clap for do everyone.
Thank you, please.
Yeah, well done. So it's one of the most famous ones. It's the ones which the Black Panthers used to use. The guys who believe in Kwanzaa in the United States do it. So it's a very interesting export.
Yes.
Same as the Kikoyi for Kenya, whose patent is held by Japan.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Did you know that?
I heard about it.
Yeah.
I didn't know how true it was.
It's very true.
Okay.
Similarly, the patent for Kente is not held by Ghanaians.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Because when Africans come up with ideas, they're not ours.
I'll tell you more about why patent and why. Anyway.
Good stuff. Yeah. I like this guy already.
You do?
You know why? Interesting fact again. So you know the quadratic formula?
We use it every day.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Did you ever notice that every formula founded by a European has the European's name?
Yes.
And every other founded by an Iranian or an Indian or a Chinese or an African is called quadratic. Is called a name that does not mention. Have you ever heard Hassan's law?
No.
Or Kamau's law?
No.
Told you, when Africans come up with ideas, it's nameless.
Yes.
But the proverb of the day, and it's tied to what we are talking about, says, knowledge is like a baobab tree. No one can encompass it with their hands. In other words, you cannot fully hug a baobab tree.
Exactly.
Yeah. What do you think about that proverb?
I think it's very self-appreciative. It actually speaks about why life, you can't just, you have to look at life wholesomely. And the baobab tree is known for its girth.
Yeah, it's a very wide trunk.
So when you, and I fully appreciate that, because there's no way you can hug it. And it's the same thing about life. I mean, you require an effort from everybody to come on board. I think that's a deeper meaning of it. It's and the shade of the baobab tree. And the ukwaju, which they call the ukwaju juice. It's one of the sweetest. So I think what you're saying is actually true. You can't just basically do things by yourself. That's why we're here. You can have a conversation by yourself as well.
There you go.
Yes.
You don't have the
well, if you have a conversation by yourself, we need to take you to a doctor.
Yeah, perhaps you should be having a further conversation with someone else.
But you know what I like about what he said? I like the fact that he brought in the aspect of teamwork. That you cannot hold it alone, but if there are 6-7 of you, it's possible.
You can. Absolutely. So, as we get into this conversation, we are dealing with a lot of societal issues currently, and that society needs to come together in a time whereby we're not really sure how to crack it. And I guess all of us coming together, just like you said, Nick, to then be able to do things and use unconventional forms to actually see how we can sort through current societal issues. And you, as the CEO of Base-Yetu, have come up with something. We're going to get into that. Let's actually start from there.
Okay.
What it is, and then we'll do some backtracking as to how we arrived there. So we're saying, don't crack it, KREK it.
Yes.
What is that?
Awesome. So KREK it. I like to go back to what Mike said about patenting, right? We've patented the first game in the world where you can play pool with your hand. So anywhere in the world, we started with that. So how did we get here so that we could start the first game, pool game? Because games of pool is played with a cue stick.
Yes.
But now we've liberalized that. You can say you can use your hand. You can throw your ball and you can play. But we did this for so many years, right? We were the biggest financiers and supporters of pool games in Kenya. We've gone the length and breadth of this country. We've gone to Nyeri, Nanyuki, Meru, Eldoret, Kitale, everywhere, and giving just a conventional game.
Yeah.
Then we realized, just like you were saying, we were playing on European rules. And we realized, hey, hold a minute. We're giving this money based on black ball rules, which are based on European rules. Why can't we create our own, just like we created M-Pesa? Why can't we create our own game for pool? And that's how we developed a game called KREK, which is our own patent of our game where anybody can play pool, as long as you can use your hand, you can play it. You don't have to have crazy skill levels. And it's on the first break. So we thought, why don't we develop it? Then we realized developing a game is only one thing. But why can't we layer that with messaging below it? So that's what we said. Before you hit the ball, you say, Gonga boli, usi gonge bibi. Or babe, for the guys who don't have wives, right?
Yes.
Then we realized the women came on board. And guess what they said? Gonga boli, usi gonge buana. I mean, it just became organic.
Right.
And people just started doing all different types of things. And then we had somebody else came and said, Ukiachwa, achika, rudi soko. You see, behavior, because we are realizing that guys want to have that kind of opportunity, but they don't have a place to speak.
You see, Nick, men are very, especially in the culture that we are in the African culture, a man is supposed to be tough, is supposed to be a stone, kuwa mwanaume, jikaze kimwanaume, and men have not had an opportunity to just speak on issues that affect them. So it's you've broken up with your babe. You don't know who to talk to because pretty much you're just an island. Yes. And you find that these are things that bottle in, and now we're talking about GBV cases that we record every day here in this room. And here is an opportunity where men come together through a game and have these discussions, and in one way, one is letting it out. Okay. Just how critical is this in making sure that mental hygiene and men speaking out is a priority?
Actually, very good point. We've actually realized that 85%, if you go to any pool hall in this country, and pool is the second, can I give you a fact? It's the second largest sport after football in Kenya.
Played one? Okay.
Yes, because anywhere you go, any place, name it, any small village, any remotest part of this country, just call and ask, do you have a pool table? They'll say, yes, we do have a pool table.
True.
So every day, young men and women, young men especially, are sitting in those areas. They're considered like drug dungeons, considered like bad places to hang out. Nobody wants to hang out around there. And guess what? We are saying those places could be the places of change because you go to the source and you discuss that.
Right.
When you call out an issue, you call it out on source.
At the source.
And that's the best way, especially this thing for making it not cool to beat your babe or fight with your chick. If she akikukataa amekukataa, you just move on.
So this is an issue that, because we can draw parallels between what we are talking about now and what has been happening in society. And let's take over the last 1 year, where unfortunately we've seen high numbers of femicide.
Yes,
it has happened. It's uncomfortable, but that's the truth. And that the majority, experts tell us that up to 93% of the young women who've died as a result of femicide have been killed by their intimate partner.
Yes.
Right? So it's intimate partner femicide that we're looking at here in most cases. Now, we are saying that came as a result of somebody, being left, the thought that perhaps they were with somebody else, or that they were not able to provide financially for whatever reason, but that resulted. Now, we're not even talking about gender-based violence because that's a whole other kettle of fish with higher numbers and the gravity of the situation even worse there. Are we saying that this is an outlet whereby before you get to the place where you raise your hand, before you get to the place whereby you have some kind of dangerous contact, that this is a place where you can actually come and open up? When you play the sport, usually they say, well, walk away.
Yes.
But oftentimes I say, walk away to where?
Yes, exactly.
So what is this ending up in?
I like that. And last weekend at KSCC, we actually had a demonstration of that. We had the first KREK festival at the KSCC, where first we had big name musicians, comedians, Eric Omondi, Jugush, all these guys were on stage and they were discussing the same subject. But what we also had was a mental wellness clinics. So guys could just go and just talk to people. And we just realized that a lot of people are actually in need of talking to somebody. So we assume that in this digital age where you have your phone looking down and you're kind of tethered to your phone, that is enough. But we've realized that people just need a hug, need to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And that's what we're offering. We're offering a close contact spot where you can actually come and talk to us.
And there are people around.
And then also get a good reward out of it. Every ball is a prize.
Oh, wow.
So you win something. Unga, skuma, kuku. We just go with the flow. Nothing crazy, but just crazy rewards. We're giving you a feel-good moment. We even make you the star. So in a normal game of pool, two people play against each other.
Yes.
In our game, you play against yourself.
Okay.
So you can you're only as good as yourself.
So how does this work, Nick? We do have like pool centers around the country where people can go every weekend, or is it after work, kind of like a rundown time? How does that happen?
So what we are going to do, currently we are going to start in Uasin-Gishu.
Okay.
So in Uasin-Gishu, we are going all the way down to the village level. And I'll tell you the reason Uasin-Gishu. Uasin-Gishu has the highest pool tables in this country.
Get out of here.
Than anybody else, yes. And
More
I'll tell you
than
the history. Yes, more than Nairobi. Uasin-Gishu being, during the reign of some things you like to quote data, historical data, during Moi's term, most of the people were in the military, and the pool tables were where the military guys used to go hang out. So they went home back and they said, hey, guess what? There's like a game we play, barracks. Can we introduce it back home? So every hamlet in Uasin-Gishu, every village has like a pool table.
It's true.
So those guys are big. So we are starting there, the home of champions. And we are bringing that from next week. We're going to every week. We're going to be in every single village, creating that awareness. Then we're going to come and create a league. And finally, in July, we're going to have a very big festival of all the guys from the villages who come and play in Uasin-Gishu, in Eldoret.
Yeah.
Then we're going to do that in every county. We're going to go to Mombasa, do the same. We're going to go to Kakamega, do the same. We're going to go to Nyeri, do the same. Because we want this to be part and parcel of what we are.
Let me ask a question.
Yes.
Because I've been listening keenly. First, in terms of the sport.
Yes.
There's even international pool championships.
Yes.
And those guys can do amazing things.
Yes.
But I've seen videos of Kenyans in a little local place that can do amazing.
Exactly.
So I can see the part about the talent. I love the part that your CSR is reaching out to couples dating or married or whatever and trying to bring peace. I like that. What I am missing is what's the business model, what's the sports model for what you're doing, right? Like when I interact with you, which part is business and how does that work, right? And then which part is CSR, and then these things come together to create what you're doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, very, very, and I like the question you've just asked because brings us a very poignant issue. On what we are, we call ourselves social entrepreneurs. So social impact. I told you we've done this since 2019, and we realized just giving away money in a pool game is not sustainable.
Yeah.
Nobody is there to do that. That's why when you heard me say the business model is around social entrepreneurship, and we are saying brands can now come on board and attach themselves to us. For example, we have QuickMart. If you go to QuickMart Roysambu right now, you will see that we actually have, when you shop 500 shillings, a pool table is outside QuickMart. And every week you have a chance to win 100,000 based on you. And we've seen women win. We've seen men come. Like today is one of our biggest days because everybody now comes for the finale, all the guys. Then there's the balls. You know there are 15 balls in a pool table. Every ball is worth something. There's a soda, there's crisps. So all these brands come together. There's Kiwi. Yeah. I mean, all these different guys. So sustainability of that is what lacks in sports. And we already have now what you can call the greatest initiative where we can plug both social issues and entrepreneurship, and we make money out of it.
I love it. Because I was looking for that. And the reason why I was looking for that is the biggest danger, according to me, to our youth today financially, is they consider betting a job.
Yes.
Right? And the worst part about that is that when you consider betting a job, your intellect is often not being used, it's being manipulated.
Yes.
Right? You should see the people who play, what's this thing they're called? Aviator. It's crazy. So I love the fact that I can specialize in pool and then go to QuickMart and win 100K.
Yes.
Right? That's good. And then the fact that you're bringing brands on board. So here's my question before we move on. How is pool coordinated across the country? Because I've heard you're going to places. You're going to Mombasa, you're going to starting in Uasin Gishu, etc.
Yes.
Is there a pool confederation you're thinking about? Is there a process by which we will get a Kenya pool champion who can then represent Kenya internationally? How is that structure?
Very well. As I said again, this is a very new game in the world. So it is part of pool, but not under pool. So we are actually we work with a federation, the Kenya Pool Players Federation. We're in association with them. We've done that before. They've come to our events. They've supported us a lot, and we are actually asking government to actually support the Kenya Pool Federation because those guys have been there slogging it for the last maybe 5 years. They only came into being in the last 2 years. Pool was actually not considered a sport. It's considered so finally, it's kind of now considered a sport because it's not gambling. It's not betting. I mean, this is your skill level. It's either how you hit the balls. And pool is a mental game. If you play the normal pool, you have to have, when you hear about kufichiana white, that's a strategy. Kufichiana white is a strategy game. So that's what it entails. So we're working with both stakeholders, whether it's federations and creating a league. But for us, being a new game, first we have to do a fabulous job of sensitization. And that's why we're coming into KTN from Sunday, where we have our game show where we're going to introduce this to the world. We have hosts like Njugush, who's going to be the host. Amazing guy, funniest comedian ever. For the first time being on TV. I had not realized that. Yes. To him. So seeing that effort that is being put in, we will see that seeding happening. The other places are Meru actually and Mombasa. Two major, if I tell you the hotspots of Kenya is Uasin Gishu, Meru and Mombasa.
For pool.
Yes. Mombasa, you can tell, I think people just like to chill. And I think that's where it is. And being very close to Tanzania. But we are so far behind our neighboring countries. Pool in Tanzania and Uganda is so structured. You will be shocked at the numbers. I mean, they come, when we held tournaments, they used to come all the way from Uganda to come and compete in our competitions in Kenya. I mean, so you have a different, varied way of playing pool, which I believe that's one of the greatest ways we can take this up to the next level.
Indeed. And, just to continue to make the connection between, obviously, this activity, and then you're able to plug into this activity and then give people an outlet. And I'm just seeing a comment that we just bring people into the conversation. And she says, this is why women on a large scale enjoy the chamas. It's not just about coming to put money into a pot and then go back, but it is also an opportunity for you to engage and leave the whole gossip phenomenon behind, but for you to actually come and share with what's going on. And then you leave that place one of 2 or 3 things happening when you're more enlightened, where you've been able to take a load off your shoulders, or you've just had a wusa moment. And the problem with a lot of these vices we see in society today is that people have not had a wusa moment. And they take all of that pent up energy and that frustration, and we found that it has an outlet, and unfortunately that outlet is violence. Sadly. And I remember when we were at the height of the conflict in Somalia, there was a program called Sports for Peace. And what that did is that it took a thing, and I'm just making the connection between what you're saying, it took a thing that was so popular in football, and it connected with these young people who engaged in this violence, in the war, in the conflict, and said, this thing that you're engaging in, let us give you something else to do. that will take up your space and your headspace. So I can see the connection, and I wish that a lot more of us then would use these social engagements, these where people are anyway.
Yes.
Yeah? And use them to then take up a lot of that mental capacity. Because, Nick, we are dealing with an epidemic.
It is.
In terms of mental hygiene and mental health and mental frustration, a task force was put together about 5 years ago, and they said it's a national emergency, this thing that we are dealing with. But in terms of we are waiting for people to do something about it, that hasn't yet happened.
Yes.
And you may be the first. You may be the first. So I don't know if you realize, and I'm sorry, that's a long-winded way of getting to the question. Do you realize really how big a thing that you've gotten into, because people now who will have an outlet whereby they're not beating up, they are not going to kill someone. And I say it so easily, but that's what's happening.
That's true.
Do you realize how much of a responsibility you have taken on to then get people to actually let a load off?
I do reckon that. And I'll go back to the quote that he gave, the baobab quote. I think I've started holding the baobab, and I just want to hold each other. And I want a people coalition of the willing, because it's all about teamwork. It's all about coming in together and holding hands together and working together. And I believe it requires, it's a ripples change, a butterfly effect. You start one thing and slowly it catches on. So we're looking for that virality. We're looking for corporates to come on board. And it's being apolitical, being completely apolitical and seeing how things can be, because actually it's a real menace. If you look, like the other day, I just read about a young boy who his girlfriend broke up with him at one of the universities. I will not mention which one. And he actually just killed her, put her on top of the tanks. Yeah, at the water tank. And the hostels, and just went back to sleep.
Went back to sleep.
Imagine.
Wow. Let me ask a question before you go on break. It's true that men are more violent. So I did a research, because I love sometimes listening and watching true crime documentaries. And I thought to myself, are there female serial killers?
Yes.
Yes.
There are.
There are.
Yes.
Then I realized the difference between the two. Men are violent, women are subtle. And this is what I mean. And what I want to ask you. Most men, because of our physicality, rarely suffer physical abuse. But most men suffer emotional abuse.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Is that part of your program? Because when I speak to a lot of male people in marriages, in relationships, they don't complain, I am beaten, I'm pinched. They stay in the bar scared of going to their own house.
It's true.
Because of the emotional abuse we go through, the gaslighting, the whatever. Is that part of your program? Because I am so worried that the male version of abuse is not addressed in this country.
It is true.
And like we said the other day, you can't call cops on emotional abuse. Nimetukana, bibi nimetukana.
You look weak.
Ameniuliza mimi mwanaume ina gani?
You look very weak.
Yeah.
Indeed, and I like what you're saying, because what we've seen is we've seen it, especially when guys are making this clarion call before they play the game. Yeah. You're seeing guys say, unajua, just like we're saying, hata ile unatukano, kuna mtu anakutukananga, yani you lose the last bit of you as a man.
Yes.
You know, like there's a guy who says,
please repeat that statement, because women don't understand. Repeat.
There's one that I heard somewhere. A Boda guy told me, he says, bibi yangu alikuja kaniambia, Nick, wewe huwezi jua, hawezi jua, umetuita sijui counseling, hawezi jua, mimi ndio najua. Wewe kuna kitu unajua na ujui. Unajua ujui.
Yes.
Wewe unajua ujui. And left it at that, meaning he knows what she was actually going below the belt.
Yeah.
And saying he knows he cannot perform.
Yeah.
So he's coming in.
Snap.
Yeah. And then guess what? We can't even sort this thing out here with counselors.
Yeah.
And that thing killed him to the last bit of him.
Yes.
And it's true. That's also a psychological game warfare fought by women. And I think they need to understand the men. The one thing about a man is his self-esteem. You don't break me. And I think that's what's happening with a lot of, especially guys in this hard economic times.
Yeah.
Guys are being emotionally broken, and by the time somebody is coming back to you and maybe using the last what you call anything is maybe slap back or whatever, I'm not condoning violence.
I hear you.
But we're saying we need to appreciate what you're saying and bring this all as a discussion, and that's what we're going to have at the game show and all these different talks we're going to have. We have great guys like Pastor T. I don't know if you know Pastor T, who's also part of us, and he's been having those talks and he's been telling guys it's time to call it out. I mean, it's part of hii ukiachwa achika. So call out even women and tell them yes. And people like Americs have been saying it. And people call it bad masculinity. But I think it's any voice that adds into this whole conversation, I think it's good.
Nick Mararo is the CEO of Base Yetu, and we're having a conversation about a show coming up. Don't crack it. Ukiwacha?
Ukiwacho achika. If somebody leaves you,
just be left.
Yes, but unaachika unaenda wapi?
Exactly.
Go to see somebody mental, talk to somebody, talk to us. Just like that. That's what we want to create. Just like you go physically shower.
Yeah.
Go mentally cleanse yourself.
Go cleanse yourself. I love it. Don't crack it. And some of the things that we're going along with what you're saying today is ukiwachwa achika.
There's somebody who's added to me and told me, na wale wako akichaless. They want to achika less.
You can't be left. I can't leave it. I must stay there for some reason. And we're talking about truth this morning, isn't it?
Yes.
A lot of this stuff is uncomfortable, Nick, to discuss.
Very.
So Mark opened it up. So let's go, because we're in the thing, isn't it? And so we're talking about a game show. But the underlings of this is that it's a place where people can actually come. Yes, they can engage in a sport whereby they have a skill, or if they just want to play.
Exactly.
But what we are saying is that kabla ugonge ball, ukigonga ball, usigonge bibi, usigonge bwana. These are things that are actually happening.
Exactly.
And the lead up to some of these things is that, unfortunately, what is disease? Disease is not a sickness. Disease is the lack of ease.
Thank you.
Disease is the lack of ease. We are no longer at ease, and we are trapped in a place whereby people are angry, people are frustrated. People normally say, if you were to lift the roof off of houses and see the things that are happening today, we are really dealing with a very, very difficult situation.
Yes.
Is this one of the solutions to the frustrations that we see? We say men don't talk, they beat. It sounds painful.
Yeah.
But that's what people say. You know, women talk and maybe talk too much sometimes, and that's what gets us into a problem. Can we open up this can and be real about some of these things?
Completely, we can. And I believe what Mike said is actually true. There are men who actually sit in a bar and they are just tired to go home. And these guys, I mean, they're like cooking inside, pressure cook. And that's why I tell guys, I mean, I think some of these things is just have a place and space you can discuss. And most people, men, we do not, just like you said, women go to chamas. That is their grounds. They discuss. But where do men go? When we go, we are bragging. Hey, me, I have a new motive one.
Yeah.
Have you seen my biashara?
But you see, how do I go to the bar and sit at the counter and say, my wife said I don't perform?
You see,
No, that's seriously.
True. Yeah, that's true.
You know, because the thing that men carry as their pain, as you correctly said, is their identity.
Yes.
Right? I'm telling you, I've seen men who cannot even leave the house because of a statement that was said.
It's true.
And it is so embarrassing to talk about that statement that you don't even want your own father to know. Right? And those are the spaces men need. Because much of the GBV that occurs in this country is brought about by the pain that this young person most of the time does not even know how to control.
And then
he goes insane. How should society create spaces for men? Because even when you're shooting pool, we don't talk about deep things.
And that's what we are triggering that. We've actually seen there's a bit where when we initially started this thing, I remember there's a lady who was playing pool, and she heard what we were saying, gonga ball is to gonga baby, and she says, "Na ukigongewa," and everybody went quiet.
Nasima.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody went quiet because you know what Gongewa means, right?
Yeah.
Do this for me, please.
Okay. I think Mike will explain it.
Mark.
Let me have the
Yes.
pleasure.
Mark.
So there's a TikTok theme. It's called Kugongeo. That means to be hit for, as in I'm hitting something in your stead, not behalf.
Okay.
Instead of you.
Okay.
Now, Kugongewa means that you have a girlfriend, wife, but there's someone else who's getting more intimate
sharing your
privileges
girlfriend with someone
than you.
else.
So,
Voila,
umegongewa.
voila. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Now, and you finish it, and it's not eggs. It's not beating
Yeah.
eggs. Yes.
Yes.
Nasimlango.
So those discussions are indeed happening with our new game because our new game allows anything to be done. And that's what we want to use this platform to discuss those elephant in the room topics, which I think people would never normally discuss.
Yeah.
And I think that is where I'm seeing us going with this. And I, as you said, I didn't realize how I think we're in the thick of it.
Yep.
You see, Nick, you're talking about a game that brings both men and women
Yes.
together, you know, and it is an opportunity for these conversations to be held among both, you know, between both men and women, in the sense that you find that women would go to their chamas and have their discussions there, and men would go to their bars and just talk about their cars. They would talk about the deals that they've signed, but never really get to talk about the issues affecting them. But here we have a game that is bringing men together and women together to talk about mental hygiene, things that normally both men and women would not sit down
Yes.
to talk about.
Yes.
And here we see an opportunity for these group of people to finally have discussions that affect them and come out with solutions. Just how critical is that? And have you seen a situation where both men and women are talking about these issues at the pool table?
Yes, we're actually seeing this. I hadn't realized how the veracity of it,
Yeah.
but indeed, we're seeing them discuss openly. I mean, it's
Yeah.
and I think Kenyans will love discussing. I've always told even my friends when I talk to people, like I like to be discussed. I don't want you to come and confront me on the phone.
Yeah.
Call me, Juliet, what did you do? Talk to me, but don't talk to me like this. Huh? When I'm taking you for a game drive or I'm doing a road trip, Abu, talk to me about those issues you had. You know, at least I'm looking at the road. I can
I'm in a comfortable space, yeah.
You know, that's how men should talk to men.
Yeah.
I think it's normal. So those are the things we're saying you should be able to discuss to men about things in a very creative way, as opposed as to take people down. Because this thing of pulling a man down at his lowest and he feels this is it. You go to your chama, you say, this guy, man, you can't perform. Everybody knows you've been gongewad, but yourself, you know. So those are the things that we want to bring out. And humor is a great initiative, and that's why we have people like Njugush.
Sure.
Because people like to. Like right now, I'm sure a lot of men, and I'm saying the guys who are even texting me, this is men, and you can tell a lot of men are really, as you rightly put it, they're in a situation, but
Yeah. So, I mean, it's obvious that society needs spaces where
Exactly.
these frustrations then can run free.
Yes.
Because the alternative, unfortunately, is a violent and deadly one, which we have seen, when you are the one who has meted violence against someone, we don't think about you.
yes,
We think about the person who has been hurt or died. But you know what? It is not possible for you to be violent to someone. It is not possible for you to act in that manner and part of you doesn't die.
that's true.
It is impossible that you are not affected by this.
Yes,
So how about we get to the place whereby before any of this happens, you're actually taking care of yourself while having some fun, you know, at the same time. And I think that we've not been intentional or we've not been deliberate to sort out some of these issues. I remember, you know, my friend Edward Quach, you know, God continue to rest his soul,
yes,
talked about the fact that we just don't have spaces where men can actually just do this thing, you know? And that nobody's saying take the ego off. We're just saying hang it on the coat hang for a minute, you know, and let's just be real about some of these things and how we're going to actually have them done. So you talked about come Sunday, you know, the launch of this show. What exactly will happen and what can people then, you know, be able to take part in?
This Sunday, expect 8 to 9. Expect great humor, but real issues,
Real conversation.
and real people. And I believe we may not all be in that space.
Yeah.
We may not all come to a place where we can discuss.
Yes.
But a semblance of what we are going through will be showcased. And I like what you said, and I think we will integrally put it in our show, where we actually discuss those issues of the takedown moments, where a man is actually taken down, and there's no way come back from that. And we can maybe see how to, in a humorous way, showcase it. Because a lot of guys are going through this.
Yes.
You sit there, you're being told, because you cannot tell a woman she did not perform.
Yeah.
But a man, you can take him down and say, and that one you can never fight with it. All she has to say is, this guy, Izani. That's it.
Or to say, unajua, the guy I'm with is better than you.
Oh my God.
Oh,
I can
Dude
see that.
is dead.
Yeah.
And if you look at the level of addictions in men, it's directly related to the inability to get back our identity. And there is literally no infrastructure in place, and I'm talking about social infrastructure, where broken men can go and be fixed. So what do? We drink every day. You go home drunk, so you are numb to the pain of seeing this person who's hurt you.
Yes.
And then it becomes a cycle, and then you die by 55 because you've held on to pain and things like that for so long. So you get blood pressure, you get diabetes, and then literally you die of a broken heart. I am not telling a story. This is true. There was a good friend of mine, I think he was maybe 67, and we were both engineers, and we used to connect so well. He used to look for me all the time, let's play chess, let's do this, and became very tight. The guy was always sad for one reason. The wife had convinced the children that he was a useless guy. The day he was taken to hospital, there were so many chances to save him, but he had already given up.
Himself.
His soul was gone after years of not being dehumanized, made into his manhood was taken away from him. And this is something that no one is talking about. But it happens with such reckless abandon that we are looking at a generation of men that are so broken. But they can't talk about it.
You raised something very critical, because I remember there's a time I was just having a conversation with guys a little bit older than me. And these guys, 5 people, were all going through divorce. But among themselves, they didn't know. So every time they meet, I struck this deal, I bought a new car, I have this house and whatnot. Until one guy just said, guys, I'm going through divorce and I need someone to talk to. I've drunk, I've done everything, but I'm not getting the closure. It's upon that moment that the silence that you talked about, the room went silent and everyone started speaking and realized that we are all going through the same thing, but we're not talking with each other to understand what it is that is happening. And if here are individuals who used to play pool together, they drink together, they go on holiday together with their families, but no one really is talking about the divorce that is happening. When they started talking, they both started seeing counselors and they found a way out. And here we're seeing a situation where from the word go, conversations are happening. From the word go, and you are able to deal with these issues earlier enough to be able to heal souls, to be able to deal with could be GBV cases, and be able to find solutions at the opportune time.
So, next Sunday comes and the show is premiered. It's premiering on KTN. So what's happening exactly on Sunday?
So it's a premiere of our season 1 to just introduce the game and to introduce this platform where men can come and basically men and women can discuss this vital component, because we just don't want to play a game. We are tired of just having something as a game show. We are tying it to great things. And also corporates are now onboarding because they're coming in and they're giving away. Remember Omo Pick a Box?
Okay.
Yes, I remember Omo Pick a Box.
I know the name.
It's very akin to Omo Pick a Box. It's a reality game. So every ball that goes in is worth a prize.
Okay. You win something.
You win something. There's unga, there's chele, there's soda, there's a fridge. I mean, different things. You'll win different things of. So all the 15 balls have a prize.
Okay.
So when you pot it, and before you play, you have to make some commitment. And the commitments are, I will be able to speak out about my issues. Nikiachwa nitaachika, nitarudi soko. Or as people are saying, we need to stop this thing of cancel culture, right? Because we cancel, as you rightly put, we come into an effect where you're actually talking about an issue, but we're talking about an issue after the fact. This guy is in hospital. But we're saying, how do you get to hospital? Nobody's saying it's because of his habits. He did not have somebody to discuss this with. So what we're saying is the smoke after the fire. So we need to arrest it at home. And that's what we're saying. And I agree with you, all of you guys. I think this discussion is bigger than me. It's big. We need all of us.
The baobab tree.
Exactly. So the baobab tree. There you go.
You know, just to add to that, Kenya does not discuss spousal abandonment when you are sick, when you are broke, when something goes wrong. Those moments really matter. And I'm saying both sides, because I've seen men who the wife is in hospital with cancer, he goes and makes someone else pregnant. I've seen women who the husband is unwell. Suddenly, she's not interested. The depth of conversation that this country needs when it comes to how we handle relationships and how we handle each other in relationships needs to go deeper than what we play around with. Even the idea of Oga Tena Urudi Soko, people don't realize that you are starting by the statement that when mchafu.
That's true.
You don't see it because you start by saying, I've left a relationship.
Yes.
I am dirty.
Yes.
I need to shower before I go out again.
Yes, true.
So what dirtified you?
And I think we even need to get these conversations beyond that, because you find by the time people are about to get married, there are cultural things that are told to people. You know, kuna wale wakunga wenye wanakuambia A, B, C, D, and that is what people stick to. Perhaps it's about time we have these discussions and even escalate it to people to people to realize that the things that you are told when it comes to relationships, it's between you two people. And that in the event there is a misunderstanding, it is upon you to deal with them and find a solution. Kugongewa or kugawa or all these things should not happen, but people should just have discussions and talk and find solutions.
It's finally time to basically unveil that lid, because I think men have hidden into this blankets. I guarantee you there are many men right now driving back from home just completely bitten. They're doing everything they can do. They provide, they give their all, but they can't go and enjoy themselves back home. And they can't tell anybody.
So home is not a safe space?
No. Probably the only safe space they have is their car right now.
Is either a car or a bar.
Or a bar.
But do you realize what we are saying? Do you realize? I think a lot of times we give these statistics or we give these realities without realizing the depth and gravity of what we are actually talking about.
Let me ask you something. You said something. You said 4 out of 5 or 93% of all femicide cases. Remember femicide?
Yes, are we
We're not discussing GBV.
No, femicide.
Now remember this.
Femicide, the death.
Realize how big this is.
Yeah.
All a close, intimate partner. What does that mean?
Incidences,
What does that mean? Where's it coming from?
It's husbands, it's boyfriends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's based on a relationship. So if you elongate that conversation, you realize that the real essence of it is a relationship. So today, you could be a silent guy, not even doing anything, not even harming anybody. But one day, uspaki, ukreki. And that's why you say, don't crack.
Don't crack.
And you see, I like that.
You see, kreki?
I like that statement to kreki, because people think kukreki is optional. That you choose one day, you know what, I'm going to lose my mental health and I'm going to slap ndu. That's not how it happens.
It doesn't work like that.
If you live in a society that one is always negative, like how Kenya is, you're always stressed by just, do you know that feeling you have when you land back into Nairobi? There's a feeling you get. Everyone knows this. Everyone who's ever been, whether it's Dubai or whatever, when you land back, there's a thing that just squashes you.
Yes.
Then your home, your internal relationships, whether you're a man or a woman, is not home, you are homeless. Then what happens is you start chokora habits. Yeah, because when you live on the street, you need drugs and alcohol to absorb the pain.
Yeah.
You become violent because you've lost so much power of your own that violence is the only thing that is left.
Yes.
And during this period, people always think marriages will break down because something big has happened. No. Marriages break down because we've not learned, one, problem solving, ndio si KREK. We've not learned how to reconcile, ndio si KREK.
It's true.
You've not learned how to be honest, ndio si KREK. So as that happens and you're homeless, the more chokora you are in your head.
That's it. And, even as, it's lights, camera, action at 8 o'clock on Sunday night, we're opening up the door for these conversations to actually start to take place.
Yes.
And there are folks who are saying, well, how can I be part of this? What can I do? Where can I go? Even after Sunday, when the show, what can I do? Where can I have a place where I can, sit and have this conversation?
Okay. Very good. So what we're doing, first of all, social media is big. We have some social media pages. You can follow us on our public channel on WhatsApp. It's Lipa Likes, Lipa Likes, Lipa Likes, likes that pay, where we have on all social medias, Facebook, Instagram. So we'll be having all these conversations, all these outlets. We'll be telling you what will be. And we're also at QuickMart right now every day of the week. QuickMart Roysambu. You can show up there and you can see what's going on because we're actually having this conversation there. And we appreciate corporates that are coming in and realizing the value of... we spoke to QuickMart and they said the real value is because we realize that people have issues on... basically coming to the store. So, for example, one of the challenges we have on the game show is we have a 2-minute challenge. So this 2-minute challenge is you shop for 2 minutes only. And guess what? A young Gen Z is told shop for your parents. An old man is told shop for your 6-month-old. Great dynamics. Because you're seeing different
You're
things.
asking an African man to shop for a 6-month-old.
Exactly. Now that's it.
But
now you got it.
This isn't it.
Exactly.
We're breaking
Exactly.
down. We're breaking down the societal norms, and one of those societal norms is that men, number one, don't speak.
Yes.
The older people don't,
Yes.
take care of the younger ones. We
young
don't
people
have
don't
women
want
taking care of their men. This is what
This is
we're
it.
talking about.
Yes.
And we can be real in this space, can't we?
Yes, we can. And somebody has just told me, this is a quote, you should use it, I think, attributed to a very good friend of mine. He says, ears that do not listen to advice accompany the head when it's chopped off.
Indeed.
Deeper.
It's true.
Ears that do not listen to advice accompany the head
when it is chopped off. This is the time. And, we've been complaining and we've seen the effects of not dealing with a lot of these issues. We've seen the effects. They've ended up in years of abuse. They've ended up in death. We have men, we have women, we have people who've walked around with issues on their shoulders as high as the sky.
Yes.
The mental health issue in this country, although we're starting to chip away at it with things like this, it's still a very, very long road.
Yes.
And it's things like this that we see, initiatives where we can have fun on one side, but actually deal with the issues on the other. I think it's very important and I think it's crucial. I think it's vital.
Exactly. And I believe also, just like you're saying, we're not saying that we are clean, but we are saying we are normal.
Yeah.
We fight every day.
It's called the human experience.
Exactly.
Normal.
My wife will maybe say something and talk back to me, and I'll tell her, hey, you're coming close to me. And she'll be like, me, I don't like, but I tell her, me, keep it real. I'll tell her, don't talk to me like that.
Yeah.
There's a line. Yes. And I'll tell her, there's a line. You talk to me this way. I like to be talk to me personally. Don't call me because she has this habit. Like after we fought, so you thought you've cleared everything.
Yeah.
Then later, like after 5 minutes, she will call you and talk like 50 minutes. You were there in the room. You sorted this thing. Then the whole day you think everything is all sorted. Kuna kitu, I forgot. And she goes for like, and I hate that.
But you see, there's the opposite of that. Silent treatment.
Silent treatment.
Are you okay? I'm fine.
Silent treatment is actually abuse, if you ask me. But that's a
It
whole.
is.
I think it is.
Do.
That's a whole other kettle of
hear you.
fish. You hear
Yes,
me? I
I hear
think
you.
it's abuse.
It's abuse.
I think it's abuse. I
It's
think
true.
silent treatment is abuse.
And as he
Yeah.
said, where will you report silent
Who will you
treatment?
tell?
Yes.
Who will you tell?
You can't even call your dad and say, Imagine dad nimenyamaziwa kwa nyumba.
You can't.
You can't.
But these are the issues, and that's one of the things that we want to keep it real about this.
Yes.
And let's see how we can change society. In this case, one ball at a time. Don't crack it. Watch out. KTN, 8 p.m. on Sunday.
Exactly.
And let's see how this movement starts. Nick Mararo is the CEO of Besietu, who's been our guest this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you guys were amazing, a great sport. And this is a great conversation. I'm sure a lot of men have been listening as well.
Indeed.
And women. I think it's good. It's a good conversation starter.
Thank you so
very
much
much for having me. Appreciate you.
Good.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.